So RFK came out and showed that the CDC has been hiding a report. They buried a report that the Hep B vaccine causes a 1,135% increase in autism. Now, a lot of the medical guys have came out and said that that report was inaccurate, and it was, it measured things wrong, and this and that. And that's why they didn't disclose it or release it. But there were no secondary reports done. There were no secondary research done. There was nothing else done to show, well, what went wrong with this report? What went wrong with this research they did? Because all they did was they just took a bunch of kids and they looked at them and they're like, how many of these kids versus the kids who didn't get it got autism? Pretty solid study. So that's kind of what's going on. We've been talking about this for a long time, and we've been talking about how these cause autism, these cause asthma, these cause ADD, these cause all sorts of different neurologic issues, and that the efficacy has never been studied. Now, here's the big thing on this one particularly. This is the one that should piss people off the very most. This vaccine is for something the kids don't have and are not going to get. So hepatitis B is transmitted through sexual contact or by mixing blood, so like giving the kid blood. So you're telling me that a brand new baby has a high risk of sexual intercourse or sexual contact that's going to result in hepatitis B? That's absurd. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And then they're like, well, what if the mom has it? You've screened the mom 5 times. When she comes into the hospital, you can pull her blood and know before she has the kid whether or not she has Hep B. So there's no reason to give this vaccine at all to begin with. Now, if we're arguing, hey, a bunch of moms came in, a bunch of sex workers came in and they had Hep B, and so we vaccinated the kid when it came out, it's a little bit different discussion then. But the vast majority, I would say 97% of all the moms that go in to give birth, when they pull their blood, they don't have Hep B. So why are they giving these babies this vaccine that is for a sexually transmitted disease to begin with? And then they come out and they were like, oh, no, it's totally safe. Because we watched kids for 5 days. I think the research article that they showed that proved the Hep B was safe, they watched like 150 kids for 5 days after they had the vaccine. And since none of them died, they said that it was 100% safe. Yeah, for 5 days. Because, most of the time, what I'm hearing about it, it's several days, if not a week later, that the moms are starting to discover that things are different. And the Hep B vaccine is given to babies as soon as they're born. So there is no, comparison function. So this is one of those things, and I keep telling people, again, this is not a medical doctor thing. The medical doctors don't know this. They're good people. They're trying their hardest, and they've been told by their people, the FDA, the CDC, the NIH, that these things work, that they're safe, that they're totally fine. That's the lie that the medical doctors have been told. And you have to understand, if the medical doctors, this is the way the mind works, if the medical doctors start to recognize that, yes, the things they're doing are having a significant and direct negative impact on the people they're giving the shots to, that means that everything that they've been taught is a lie, which it is, but that's what that means. And so they have to face that. They have to face the idea that the entire thing that they've built their whole life, purpose, career, self-esteem, everything on is wrong. Because they were like, I went to school for a long time to learn to help people, but they were taught how to sell drugs, not help people. And when they start to have to come to realization of that, that's the problem we're going to get into, is because they're going to argue not necessarily that the vaccines are safe, the actual underlying method of their arguing why the reason why they're arguing the vaccines are safe is because what actually that means is the vaccines are not safe. What that really means is that most of the things they were taught were wrong. And so what do they do now? How do they deal with this? Think of the pediatricians who thought this whole time they were doing kids a favor, and all of a sudden they find out that they were not, that they were causing autism, they were causing the ADD, they were causing the allergy issues, they were causing the gut issues, they were causing the asthma, that they were then treated or seeing or whatever. Like, that's something that they're going to have to deal with. So when you see this giant pushback of, no, that's not right, it's not right, recognize where this is coming from. It's coming from people who are just now realizing that the vast majority of the things they were taught were wrong. They were lies. They were designed to set up to sell drugs. Now, and this is the thing I talk about all the time. If your doctor cannot, okay, whenever we talk about gut flora being important, and we talk about, if somebody has psychological issues, and so they have a chemical imbalance. So the chemicals in your gut, that's metabolic function. The chemicals in your brain, that's metabolic function. The easiest, everything that you talk about, any health issue, cold, flu, autism, anything, all of it has a massive piece of this is metabolic function. The easiest metabolic function process to resolve is type 2 diabetes. Super easy to fix. It is. And so if your doctor can't or won't fix it, we have a problem. If they can't fix it, why are you listening to them? Because everything's metabolic, and if they can't fix the easiest metabolic problem, why are you listening to them? If they won't, because they're getting paid more to not fix your problems, that actually makes them the worst people in the world. I don't think it's that one. I really don't think these doctors know what they're doing, and they're just selling you drugs. I think they were taught to just sell the drugs. They were not taught how the body actually works and how to fix it. So that's the thing. Now, here's the biggest issue that you guys all need to kind of recognize on this one. When this starts coming out more, and it will come out more and more and more throughout the year, the millions of dollars that we're going to spend to get RFK out of office has come out and been disclosed. If you haven't followed that, that's crazy too. The biotech companies, Pfizer, Merck, all those guys pitched together, started, and gave a whole bunch of money to a group to, defame and, put wedges between everybody, him and Trump, and try to get RFK out of office by September because they're losing too much money. Not because people are getting hurt, but because they're losing too much money. It's never been about, oh no, people are being hurt. It's the pharmaceutical companies are losing too much money. So anyway, as this stuff starts coming out more and we start getting the message out and people start learning that, hey, you know what? There's a much better way of getting healthy, staying healthy, and being where you need to be. And it's not the medical route. It's going to be hard to find those docs and hard to get into them. So if you guys know those guys, if you guys, if there's a functional medicine guy near you, if you guys, are by us, I would get in and I would get set up as a patient now, because like the 2 docs that I know who are great, who don't mandate vaccines and are phenomenal functional medicine pediatricians, they're both full, not accepting any more patients. And as this stuff starts coming out, what you're going to see first is that all of the pediatricians who don't mandate vaccines are going to fill up instantly. The guys who have been fixing autism, like Dr. Bain with Healthy Kids Pediatrics, they're going to fill up instantly. So, if you guys have kids, I would find a functional medicine pediatrician in your area that does not mandate vaccines, and I would get in now, because you're not going to be able to get in, or it's going to be 10 times the price here in a couple months. So what we saw with COVID was after people started seeing how the medical system just was failing people left and right, we saw a major shift into the concierge world as well. And I would get a hold of the concierge docs in your area. I would figure out how to get in. Everybody I know is looking at raising the prices soon. So it's one of those things that if you guys know these guys, I would get in, I would get set up, and I would get started working with them because it's about to be real expensive to get with these people. The information that's starting to come out now has been confirming everything that what we would refer to as the alternative or the non-pharmaceutical doctors have been saying for a long, long time. This is more proof. I don't know how much more proof you need, but this is more proof that the people who are educated from the medical system, who are taught by the FDA, the NIH, the CDC, the WHO, these governmental organizations who run all of the education in medicine, that downstream function is set up to get you sick, keep you sick, and keep you paying for it for the rest of your entire life. That's why they're not fixing diabetes. Diabetes is worth $120 billion a year. That's not why they're not fixing dementia. That's why they're not doing hormones properly, because the hormone thing with women, I haven't seen the latest reports, but we're looking at tens of thousands of women and probably billions of dollars spent every year because they're allowing these women to get urinary tract infections that would be prevented by utilizing hormones. And because 20 or 30 days in the ICU, then letting them die is more profitable than making $8 to $10 a month on the hormones that would be required to prevent a lot of these UTIs. The the hormones that women produce help keep the vaginal flora where it's supposed to be. So yeah, hormone therapy is life critical for men and women, but in this case, specifically for women. So that would go a long way to fixing those issues. And the research is there and they know it, but they're always going to slide on what makes the most money. They don't care if it helps the people or not. That's why they're siding on it. That's why they kept the parasitic function a secret so long. That's why they keep telling people the body runs on calories. That's why they told people for 30 years that opium was not addictive as long as you bought it from a pharmacy. Dude, guys, we've known opium was addictive since the 1500s. There's a lot of Western movies where people are in opium dens because they're highly addicted. Like, we've known how bad opium was for a long time. And the FDA came out and was like, as long as you buy it from us, it's no longer addictive, which was a lie. The mask thing was a lie. The FDA came out and said that Fruit Loops or Lucky Charms was healthier for you than steak. They keep telling you that cholesterol is the #1 reason that you have heart attacks, which is, we've known that's been a lie for a long time. The definitive research on that came out in 2009. We knew the paper that they based all this cholesterol stuff on, we knew was a fraudulent and a really terrible research the day it was published. But it pushed the statin drugs, so why would we argue against it? The rate of heart attacks has not decreased. The research on statin drugs show that it doesn't really help. We keep pushing them, just like SSRIs. Instead of fixing metabolic function, which lots of times will fix the actual issues with the depression, we push the SSRIs because that's something that you can buy every day and somewhat kind of helps. This is where we're at. So I'm hoping that as things start rolling through, I'm hoping RFK, survives all this politically and physically. He's free of any harm to him. But this is the place we're at, and the fight hasn't really even started yet. So, like, I'm suspecting that we're going to see in Q4 or Q1 of next year, we're going to see measles outbreaks, measles deaths, things like that. And just remember, if you see measles outbreaks and you see measles deaths, it's lab made. Because right now, the stats from the CDC on measles are 3 in 1,000 people die if they get the measles, but they don't die from the measles. 2/3 or 66% die from dehydration because they're throwing up, their diarrhea, that type of thing. The dehydration kills them, not the measles. The other 30% or so, or what is that? Anyway, the other 1/3, 33%, are dying from measles pneumonia, which also is something that if you get in quick enough, you can get knocked out. You can get that fixed. You can also, hyperbaric's also fantastic for that, but again, they're not going to use it because what you're going to see is the same thing with the measles that you saw with COVID. They're going to let people die on purpose so that they can raise the numbers, raise the fear, and then push their vaccine, which is exactly what they did with COVID. So kind of watch for that. But, like I said, I would start finding those docs. I would start getting healthy now. I would start moving your kids away from any pediatrician who mandates vaccines. And in case you didn't know, and you can look this up, the pediatricians get a gigantic check for keeping your kids vaccinated. That's why if you come in like, we're not going to vaccinate, that's why they kick you out of the practice. It has nothing to do with safety or health. It has to do with the giant kickback that these pediatricians are getting for keeping X amount of their percentage vaccinated, fully vaccinated. So look at that, check into that. And I would start finding pediatricians who don't mandate vaccines, because here's the other thing. Like one of the pediatricians I work with, she gives up a little over $200,000 a year by not mandating vaccines. If she vaccinated everybody in her practice, she'd make an additional $250,000 a year, just under $250,000 a year. And she gives that up so she doesn't have to poison the kids. Her words. So if you guys have anybody, if you guys are looking for somebody to help you out, if you guys are looking for pediatricians, I would start going through the chiropractic thing. Google the ICPA, the International Chiropractic Pediatric Association, and I would ask them, like, who do you send your kids to? That's the way I would go through it, like in whatever town. Here it's Natural Choice Pediatrics, and it's Healthy Kids Pediatrics. And Richardson, even though I don't like the guy that much, Shine is a great option for you as well. If you guys have any questions, hit us up, questions@chalmerswellness.com. Go see those guys. The Texas law just passed again, if you guys didn't see it, where you can personally just get online, download the form for vaccine exemption. So I would make sure you get on that. But yeah, this is where we're at. If you guys have any questions, follow it up or hit us up. Talk to you guys later. Have a fabulous day.